Paint Log. My name's Keith, and we're going to talk about my hobby progress this week. Over the last week, I decided to really hunker down on those two mystery minis that I pulled last week. I really wanted to put the time and energy into each mini in order to thank every one of y'all for giving me color schemes over the past couple of videos. It's really encouraged me to keep on painting, and I really think each of you has an eye for color because the color schemes just seem to work on all the minis, and they come out really, really well. These past two in particular are amazing with the colors that were chosen, and I really got to see like a vision come out. So I hope you like them. This week I also made a semi-long journey to pick up minis at a deal, and so I spent money, and later on in the video I think I'm going to talk about my growing pile of shame and my feelings towards it and what I'm going to do about it. But first, before we get into either of those, some housekeeping things. I've made a couple of adjustments to the videos recently, one being the soundtrack. Let me know if you like the song better than the last one. I personally prefer it. To be honest, it kind of sounds like if you bought the Persona 5 soundtrack off of Temu. Either way, I'm vibing. And then the second thing I wanted to bring up is my tendency to like flip-flop in videos between videos of short jump cuts and highly edited to me just waffling about out on the screen like I am doing now. If you have a style preference, if you would like the short to the point, I can do that, or if you would like the rambling. To be completely honest, sometimes the rambling's just going to happen because I'm tired today, so... But enough of me rambling and you having to look at my face. Let me ramble and let you look at the miniatures I painted. First up, we have this goblin riding a wolf from Reaper Bones Miniatures. The color scheme was picked out by a coworker of mine. We have a board that we can put jokers on and different like prompts to write on, and I wrote, "Give me color schemes for my minis because I'm a nerd." And Noah came through with a color scheme of gold, jade, and black. When I sat down to paint the mini with that color scheme, I instantly knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a like night goblin like color scheme with the jade, have like a black wolf, and then obviously the gold weapons. I started with the wolf because it was the biggest part of the miniature, but also because black is kind of a difficult color to work with. Typically it eats all the light right around it, so it's difficult to see detail in a miniature. And then when you start to highlight it, if you highlight it typically in like a gray or a blue, that tends to become the dominant color. So I really wanted to be careful with my dry brushing. I base coated Old Fenris here in Abaddon black, and then dry brushed on a heavy coat of Corvus black, also both of those from Citadel Miniatures paint line. I then took Mechanicus Standard Gray, again from Citadel paint line, and dry brushed super lightly, just trying to hit the edges and make it pop a little bit, but without the wolf becoming gray. I'm really happy with how it turned out because it maintains that overall black tendency. And then where I chose not to dry brush, the Abaddon black and the Corvus black definitely give a transition that the wolf has at least some dimension to it. But speaking of dimension, oh my god, look at this little goblin guy. Oh my goodness, I am so happy with how he turned out. Luckily, when Noah suggested jade, I actually owned the Proacryl's jade line, which is a dark jade, the color, and then bright jade. So that's what I used, those three colors on this gentleman right here. I ended up using a lot of glazing on this little goblin, and I think it really shows. Glazing is a technique where you thin down the paint really thin with water, and you slowly build up the color. The transitions that I achieved here, which are not the most amazing transitions ever, let me be honest, but like I'm so proud of them. And the highlights really pop. It took a while to do, don't get me wrong, but like it felt really good to see this little guy at the end. And I spent this week kind of focusing and trying to spend a little bit more attention on darker skin tones, which we'll see in the next miniature coming up too. I feel like that's a part of my repertoire that I haven't really engaged with at all, and so I want to start exploring that. And so this Night Goblin was a perfect opportunity to try that. And speaking of expanding my repertoire, here we have our next mini with a color scheme that was suggested by Kelly Irish 9522. We have our first returning color scheme suggestor, so thank you, Kelly Irish 9522. Paid no attention to the fact that that comment mentions a dinosaur. This is a mini of a Pirate Musician by Reaper Bones miniatures, and once again I became the champion of glazing in order to achieve the fine quality that you see before you. I did do a lot of glazing, but I ain't no champion. While looking nothing alike, these two minis were actually very similar. Again, I talked about wanting to do a darker skin tone, and I really wanted it to come out more across this tan, which I think I achieved in some places rather than others. I used a combination of Mornfang Brown from Citadel's miniature paint line and Warm Flesh from Pro Apparel, and did a combination of that to get the various skin tone differences that you see. Again, I think it kind of comes across as tan, but not really, and I could definitely use a little bit more work. But another reason that these two miniatures were similar was that Kelly suggested deep purple as a color, which I used for the shirt, but deep purple has a very similar component to black paint, as in that it absorbs a lot of light. It's very dark, and so it absorbs all that light. And so I needed to find a way of keeping that deep purple hue, but not brightening it up to lilac when I highlighted it. And I achieved that through glazing, of course. The pants were done in a very similar way, just building up the color lightly with glazing. And overall, it just seems to have been a glazy type of week. That just seems to be what the flavor of it was. And I really enjoyed it. I think both of the color schemes that Noah and Kelly picked were perfectly suited for the miniatures that I picked to paint them with, and it was just a really, really good time overall. So thank you both for your suggestions, and again, if you have any other suggestions, leave them down below in the comments. But now, as always, it's time to pick our random mystery minis for next week. So let's go ahead and pick obligatory loud box cranking sounds. I think we got 2 again. Watching that video back, we almost got 3. Like, I'm not trying to put that much work on myself. So we did end up pulling 2 miniatures. The first one will come up on screen now, and it is Stitch Thimbletoe from Reaper Bone Miniatures. He's a little hobbit rogue that we'll be painting up, so if you have a color scheme, again, leave it down below. But our second miniature, which should be coming up on screen now, is actually a perfect segue. This is Dagnai Holdenstock from the Cursed City Warhammer Quest Cursed City. I don't know how to refer to it. This box. He's from this box. This is what I went to go get over the weekend. The savvy viewer may have noticed that our random eBay miniatures box that actually didn't come from eBay got bigger. That's because I started adding some of these Cursed City miniatures into it. I got it over the weekend, I started building them, and I was like, these are just so cool, I want to throw them in there. I got the box for a really good deal. It was basically half off, and so that's why I made the drive, and I got 60 miniatures for it. That is 60 miniatures that are now added to my growing pile of shame, which is something that I wanted to talk about. The pile of shame is typically a pile of gray plastic or little figurines that you haven't painted, and in many cases it becomes bigger than the actual amount of figures that you have painted. And that has become the case for me, definitely with this purchase, but even before that purchase. The more optimistic approach is to call it a pile of potential, which I do like. It's the potential that you're going to paint them and like they're going to look so cool. And my goal is to, even though I keep buying minis and trying to spend responsibly, obviously, I want to work through that. So I don't know if I'm going to buy as many coming up, of course, but I'm going to try and work through that. Part of that is the mystery minis is getting me through that. I've painted probably 10 minis at this point. I don't know, I'd have to go back and count. But that I probably would not have painted them if it was not for you guys and the support you have shown. So we're going to keep on doing that. And then I think next week as well, there will be something where I have a choice of like 3 options from my pile of shame of like, okay, what should my next big project be? And then I'll let y'all guys vote on it and see what you want. All in all, this YouTube channel has really helped out a lot. It has given me a dedicated purpose of doing and tackling my pile of shame. And I know not everyone's able to start a YouTube channel. Again, my goal is not to get big. It's really just to show the people I care about the minis that I painted, so I don't have to send 1,000 photos to everyone, because I'm a nerd and I would definitely do that. But I guess my advice or my message would be just kind of try and find something that holds you accountable. Maybe if you have someone like a friend that you care about, or a significant other or anything like that, why don't you try painting a mini for them every week? Or trying a new technique, or like I had so much fun glazing, and that will definitely come back into play in the future. I'm not a pro, but it was just a good time. I just think you should get on out there and kind of push yourself. And if a YouTube channel helps, or keeping like a diary or something like that helps, then by all means. Though I do think I'm gonna wrap it up here. I think we've discovered the downside of the rambly, less edited videos. They're longer. This will be my first over 10-minute video. So congratulations if you watch this. Thank you for staying through the whole way. Remember, if you did and you liked what you saw, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification button so that you stay notified when I drop videos. There's one every week on Thursday, sometime around 9 to 10-ish Eastern Standard Time. And then, of course, leave a comment with a color scheme if you want to see a random mini painted in one of those color schemes. I can't promise that it will be the mini this week, but I can promise that eventually we will get to you. So, with that said, I'm Keith. This has been the Paint Log. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!